All right, Black Box Radio. We are in the box. I'm telling you, we Brady Bunch today tonight. We got six spaces. So we got all these spaces, but we're in the box. This is still Black History Month. And we were intentional this month about doing previews of people in Baltimore who were doing great things. So that was our Bmore Black History. But today, this is Living Black History. We're going to talk about something, a subject that most people have occurred in their life, and that's domestic violence. It is, I think it is the precipice to all violence. It starts domestically. And so, I mean, it has so many forms. It could be complex and be very simple, but it's still violence. So, I want to first introduce myself. I'm Queen. I am a host at Black Box Radio. We are a media platform for Black excellence. We highlight Black people. We actually display Black genius, and we disseminate information to the Black community. But we also humanize ourselves to communities who are not familiar with the Black experience. So, and that's very important for it to come from an authentic space from Black people. But tonight, let me tell y'all something. This is the sister circle right here. Y'all see all these Black women. We got black, brown, caramel, light caramel, chocolate, ola. We got everything on the screen tonight. We got five women, and this is amazing because we're going to highlight a book called Blinded Love, and it was I'm not sure the release date, but very just recently by Miss Rachel E. Bills, and that's who I first want to talk to. Miss Rachel, can you just say hi to the people so they know who you are? Okay, and first I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and why did you do this book, and then we're going to talk to the contributors.
Okay, so hello everybody. I am so pleased. I am so excited to be here. I met my girl Queen. I love your name because you are a queen. We are all
Oh, thank
queens.
you.
I just have to say that. I love it. When you emailed me, I was like, yeah, right on. But I am so excited to be here. I am the the owner of Women of Virtue Publishing,
Okay.
and Blinded Love was, I think, my ninth book, and
Whoa.
I'm on my 11th right now. So I'm just pleased. I'm ecstatic. But I did Blinded Love because, like Queen said, it was a topic that is so important, and it is, I think, in certain cultures it is underrated
Mm.
because, and the reason why I say that, and I'm about to be this real specific, as Black women, okay, in particular, and I know from my own experience, I was raised in the ghetto. I was raised in a hood, and the first thing we were taught was, we don't call the police. You don't call the police.
Mm-hmm.
You ride with the punches. You don't call the police. And I seen a lot of violence, and it was so normal to me. Okay, I'm making it my own story right now. It was so normal to me. I mean, it was it was traumatic. Once I realized that that is not what love is, it I believe that the blinders were lifted from my eyes, and I realized that I was in a real domestic violence situation.
Mm.
I was not treated with love. I was not being treated with love.
Okay.
But it was control. Um and so moving forward, okay, because I did get out of that situation, and I experienced different types of domestic violence. Okay, it wasn't just between me and my husband, but it was also my friend. Okay, it wasn't just between, it was also my friend. And so I talked about that in my book. That's the one that I really talked about in my book. So you'll see that. But I wanted voices to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted I didn't want to just write my story, but I wanted to include other stories,
Okay.
and I wanted it to be something that will reach more than just one sector of domestic violence, if that makes sense. So I put together this anthology, and I was amazed by the stories. I was
Okay.
so amazed,
It,
and
it,
it
it-
helped me. It made me a better person.
it
It
says
wounded
something
some.
when it says something when you do a book and you include
Yes,
others. Because
yes,
one thing about experience, it can be the same type of what we can say abuse or the same type of application, but everybody
yes,
experiences it differently and expresses
yes,
the trauma differently. And
yes,
so for you to say, I'm going to include others and Black women, and a lot of time the problem with when we talk, they do not believe Black women. Let's be clear that we are the less
exactly,
likely to be believed when we're going through something.
exactly.
We are displayed as being super strong, as as
Yes.
being this being that does not need help. It can do everything for itself. It can hold down
Hmm.
everybody, and that is
Hmm.
one of and it irrigates through society that we don't need help.
Yes,
And not only in
we're
black men go through
underrepresented.
it too, but Black women are usually the culprit. But and for you to use
Yes,
other stories is very admirable, because then we can
yes,
hear the expression of this abuse in so many different ways. And,
yes,
you never know how it affects another person, and they can get it from another author, but it's still domestic abuse. You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
Right,
exactly,
right,
exactly.
right.
And I think me and you talked about this like a couple of weeks ago, just real briefly, how we are underrepresented in this area,
Mhm.
because we already are marked as what? Angry Black women. Okay, oh, she just mad, oh, she just tripping, she just got an attitude, and it's not. And I was just at a book launch. I was invited to a book launch, and people were fascinated with this book. And so I had a chance to just talk momentarily about the book. And as I told them, you know yes, we're strong. I'll give you that. We are strong for sure, but we also bleed, we also bruise,
Yeah.
we also get hurt. And so we got a voice. We and I want all of my anthologies is really about giving a voice to the voiceless. It
And that's
really
very
is.
important. Very, very important. So first I do want you to say is the name of the book, and it has a tagline too, and then we're going to talk to some of these contributors so they can kind of talk about how do they contribute to this anthology, as you put it.
Yes.
Love that, anthology. That's a
Yes.
lot of word for me, anthology. Love it. So all them syllables, sis. I know you're intelligent, but okay. All right. So the name of the book is what?
Blinded love.
Blinded Love, and it reveals domestic abuse.
Yes.
And one thing, a lot of time when we talk about domestic abuse, we talk about with partners, our intimate partners. But
Yes.
then you have fathers and mothers, and it happens in the home
Yes.
domestically, and uncles and grandmothers. We got to look at the whole dynamic. A lot of
Yeah.
times we're just
Oh
talking
yeah.
about when you intimately share yourself with someone else, and there's this abuse, but a lot of abuse starts in our family. So we're so easily to abuse when we leave that family.
Yes.
Am I correct in that?
Oh yes,
I see my
definitely.
lady shaking, so I know
Definitely.
I'm hitting on something. So, and domestic abuse is just that. And so I wanted to tell people exactly what the name of the book is, and actually how can they get the book. So can you
Ye-
tell them that?
yes. Yes. So if you are my viewer, you want to purchase it from me, it is on my website, rachelebills.com.
Okay.
And all of us, we all, you could purchase it from any one of us, because we are all equally co-authors in this project. So
Okay.
but
So
for
everyone's
me,
selling the book. Excellent. That's what
yes.
I talk about. Multiple streams. If that ain't
Oh
multiple,
yeah,
I don't
girl,
know nothing. That's what's up.
yes.
Okay. So we're gonna
Yes,
first.
yes. I include my sisters. That's what I love
I
about
love
this.
that.
It ain't just about me. It's about all of us coming together. So,
That
yeah.
and how many contributors altogether that contributed to the book?
Altogether, there was seven. Seven. Let's see.
Seven,
Nine.
nine.
There was nine.
There's nine
Yes, there was
contributors
nine.
altogether. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna guess what, guys? We got four contributors. You see these ladies, they're not just sitting here in the audience. They're actually actual authors in this book. They're co-authors. So we want to talk to them and kind of get where they're from, and then how did they get to be a part of a book like domestic abuse. So
Yes.
let's just start. Who's next to me on the screen? That's Miss Takiyah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Takiyah Yathan. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I came across this venture scrolling through Facebook and saw the topic and clicked on it and said, "Is it too late to participate?" Because it was like right at the very cusp of the deadline. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so my bit of the story is coming from the angle of having grown up a church girl, and I landed, for lack of a better word, in a domestically violent relationship.
Oh wow.
And just all the things that go with it, because you hear stuff like, did you pray? Have you prayed? Are you praying? Or just pray for him? And all that's fine, but it doesn't answer the immediate question of what am I supposed to do with this, like right now? Like, yes, I know, yes, I pray, got
Mm-hmm.
that down pat. Now what? Because he's still coming at me crazy. So what do I do next? And because a lot of women, especially in Black women in churches, you get kind of the side eye when you tell people you're in a less than perfect relationship, because people think you walk down the aisle, or because y'all booed up and you look nice in pictures on Facebook, that everything's all dandy, well and good. Well, every picture I ever posted on Facebook was really a two-faced photo. Like, flip that coin over and you could see all the ugly on the back of it. And so just because I never talked about the ugly doesn't mean the ugly never happened. And so now that
Mm-hmm.
I am starting to talk about it, people are just like, but wait, y'all were happy. No, that was the picture. This is what
Wow.
went on behind the picture. Y'all don't know about that part. You never said nothing. Well, why would I? Y'all wouldn't have believed it, no how. The
Mm.
stuff I told you, you
Yeah.
didn't believe. And so when it comes down to all of that, is the bottom line, God said it's time to talk. Because there are too
Mm-hmm.
many me's sitting in places thinking that nobody will listen to them, nobody hears them, and nobody understands. Because in our mind, the thing that plays the most is we should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you should have knew better than to come through this way. You should have known better than to deal with him. You should have known better, this, that, and the third. But you bring a boy to church and everybody's like, "Oh, look, hey, y'all get married," and so you get married, and just because you bring him to church, don't make him any more saved. He's just a boy sitting in church. That's as good as it gets.
Wow. And
But
was this physical abuse? It was,
for me, it was mostly emotional, verbal, and mental. So
wow.
the part that I wrote about in the book, though, is the day that he actually swung at me, and that's what made all the other stuff click. That
Wow.
this was not God, this was not life, this was not what was supposed to be happening. And there was a mini fight inside of a moving vehicle. Um and that's where all of that stuff took place. And when it came down to it, that was the deciding factor of me starting to come out of all the things that I had been stuck in for a long time. A long time.
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. And you know, a lot of times, you know what the church say, you just pray about it. But they ain't taking them blows or they're not taking that abuse. So it's something that you really have to be proactive about.
Yeah.
Domestic abuse is not a joke. Wow. And so
Yeah, it's real.
it's real. And so
It's
being a
real.
preacher's kid, you didn't say you was a preacher kid, you said
I
church kid.
actually am. Yeah.
Oh, you're a
I
PK
am.
too? Oh, that's double the trouble. Oh Lord. So did you go to the pastor?
Um, Initially, no. I did talk to both my parents. My parents
Okay.
are, well, my father's been a licensed clergyman for years, like since the 80s. Um, and so he would say like bits and pieces of stuff, but my dad is more so like not hands off per se, but he's just like, look, you grown. I trust you. You'll figure it out. But when the rubber hit the road and stuff was too bad, my father is, between both my parents sat me down and was just like, look, no, this is not what's gonna happen. we're not doing this. And so they were a big part in me coming out of it. And so the stuff that I grew up believing faulty wasn't from anything that I learned from my parents. It was from other stuff that you're at church, you're 15, 16 years old, and you see a couple in the middle of some like violent argument, not just, oh, she didn't take the food out to cook for dinner. Like they are for real beefing. And you can see that. And when you ask about it, people tell you mind your business because you're not 18. That's grown
Mm.
folks' business. What they don't tell you is that what you were actually seeing was a domestically violent situation, like right in front of you. And
Wow.
their answer to that was, you saw that, now go pray for them. And don't date boys that don't go to church. Okay, so I brought them to church and we still here. And
Wow.
so when I did go and talk to the pastor of the church that we now attend,
Mm-hmm.
um, he saw the gambit of everything and was just like, yeah, no. And so I had a pastor that was just like, no, this is not what we gonna do.
Okay.
Yes, we gonna pray. Yes, you're gonna, I understand you're married, you're gonna do what you need to do or try to do to make it work. We're gonna pray, but if this doesn't change sooner than later, then do what you need to do to get yourself to safety because this isn't healthy.
So
And
did
so
you
that's
marry early?
huh,
Was it an early marriage? Because it sounds like you were married early.
no, I was married when I was 40, and that's the other part. That's a whole nother story.
Oh. Yeah. We gonna circle back to that.
Right.
Well, I done blew the conversation open. See, let's circle back. Let's circle back to that. But that's the good thing is you had a support system outside of yourself. Because some
Yes,
people, you go to your pastor, you go to the people, and they're like,
and they tell them stay in it, and
exactly,
he doesn't.
exactly. So you
They're
that
not. I went to I grew up around clergymen, so I asked everybody because I was like, look, I need some help. Like I don't understand. I understand married people have problems, but
But this
this
is,
not
yeah.
this
this
is
not looking like
different.
no problem I done ever seen out of none of y'all. So I need some help. So I asked my parents. My parents were a little more gentle about it. They were just like, well, it's still new, just wait and see. But that was because I didn't tell them the whole gambit of the story because I didn't want them worrying. So I only told them what I wanted them to know.
Wow.
And so to the part that I told them, yes, the answer to that was just pray and wait it out. The pastor actually saw him blow up in a meeting.
Oh,
Over
Oh,
like
he saw a
something
witness.
completely random.
yeah.
And
Wow.
when I explained it to all my dad's best friends are clergymen, so I called my uncle and had a conversation with my uncle, and he said, no, those are not first year marriage problems, those are no year marriage problems. You shouldn't ever have them problems any year of a marriage. I don't care how long y'all been married. And so just like the pastor, he said the same thing. He said, now as your uncle, he said, as a clergyman, yes, we're gonna pray, we're gonna do all of that part. As your uncle, I'm telling you, do what you need to do in case you need to go.
Mm. Well,
And that
that's
was,
great. That's great. You had a support system. I've heard so
yes.
many people say to their families or people around them, and they still have to go at it alone. So that was a good thing for you. For you. So we're gonna come back. Let's move to Lawanda, because Lawanda she done been in and out. Lawanda, you okay? Lawanda, we're gonna come back to Lawanda.
I think it's stuck.
Yeah, looks like she's stuck. All right, Machina, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, and then tell us how you what you said in the book. What was your part of the book?
Hello, I am from Troy, New York. I'm originally from Cross, South Carolina. How I got here and got invested into this book. I've been talking about domestic violence since my first 2 books came out. So that was how I started speaking about it. And then I seen the post and I'm like, oh, I want to be a part. I want to add my story. And, with my story, I grew up down south, always going to church. Quiet little girl, shy, but I come to the big city and I get into a relationship and I'm pregnant going through domestic violence. So it's like I didn't expect it, but I kind of and the title was pretty much correct, blinded love. I was paying more attention to other things than all the blow-ups he was doing with everybody else. And it's like, oh, well, he's not doing it to me right now, so it's not going to be me. Well, lo and behold, it became me while I was pregnant. I think I was about 7 months pregnant when my incident happened. And, just going through that, I stopped dating him for a while. But then, of course, I'm pregnant, hormones. Growing up from the South, I want to keep the family together. I want to, keep the babies with their dad. I don't want multiple baby daddies. My father is a pastor. I didn't live with him, but I was around him. And my great-grandmother kept me in church. So, it's like, oh, you want to keep the family alive. But I got back into the relationship, but it happened again. And I just like, oh, no, this is not what it's supposed to be. This is not love. So I had to let him go. But in the midst of that, he still tried to control me because I had his kids.
Wow.
But in the midst of that as well, I moved on, but got into another relationship that was worse.
Oh.
So this is when I had to figure out, why am I attracting the blinded love and dealing with all of this? Wow. So it's like in the midst of mine, my title was, my journey wasn't easy, because in the midst of being pregnant, having it happen, finding out you have health conditions, dealing with it, then getting stalked when you try to leave, and had a restraining order. So the journey wasn't easy, but it was a great way in this book for me to be able to explain to people that just because you've been through something, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to have fear be the reason why you stay, or because you want to stay because of the kids, or you want to stay because financially, because at the end of the day, my life was more important than anything else. And my kids seen it. So it was definitely time for me to go, because I didn't want them to think that was okay. And I have 2 girls. That was not what I wanted for them. So my decision was totally based on my life and theirs, and dealing with it, and having somebody stalk you for 6 months, having to go move my whole house with my kids to a whole nother spot while they're locked up. So somebody can't find you. It wasn't easy. And in the midst of that, I dealt with PTSD, anxiety, and all of these things, because when somebody's stalking you and popping up everywhere you go, it's uncomfortable. So it's like, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to leave the relationship. I have a restraining order. I'm telling the police about it, but it still seems like you're fighting by yourself.
Wow.
But the program I went through was a really great help. I went through this program called Unity House, which gave me my voice. So that's how I got into walking in my purpose and being able to be a big advocate for domestic violence. And I just feel with Blinded by Love is a great way to deliver the message to women all over, the women, men, kids, teens, whoever's dealing with it, that the journey might not be easy, but you don't have to stay, and it's a way out.
Wow, that's the testimony right there, man. Yes, it is. Wow. So you're saying, and a lot of times we have to look at ourselves like, why do we keep going into the same relationship? Like what is going on with because you said that you had this problem and you weren't married to him. And so, but you had a child for him. And
2.
2 kids for him.
It was the second kid that started happening.
Oh my goodness. And so the first kid, was he displaying his behaviors doing really?
I was with him a good 4 years.
So you telling me this was oh my,
It's
I
like
hear,
probably the yelling and everything else at other people. But as
okay.
far as him verbally or any, he didn't verbally, he didn't any of that. And it's like one day we were in the house and he didn't like what I said. And he decides he wants to take me and throw me into a cabinet and strangle me while I'm 7 months pregnant.
Wow.
Wow.
My
So I
goodness.
wasn't fighting for my life. I was fighting for my child life, which was my
Yeah.
second daughter.
Yeah.
And your first daughter witnessed some of this behavior. My goodness.
Not with her father. She wasn't there. When I got into my other relationship that wasn't her father, they saw me end up getting dragged upstairs when I was trying to leave out the house because of an incident was about to happen. Because I noticed what was happening. It was like, okay, it's time to go. This is not going to work.
Wow.
And in the midst of me trying to leave my house, my abuser decides that, oh, I don't want you to leave. You have to stay and I don't want you going anywhere. So they decide to fight me on the stairs while I'm trying to get my kids down the stairs without them getting in the midst of it.
Man, you know, we have to protect our children, girl children, boy children, because this type of behavior only continues. It's a cycle. It's, you only do what you see. You know, when you're young, you're very impressionable, and that's some of this violence that we see. They've seen it all their life, and that's all they know is abuse. That's all they know is violence. So you know, protecting your children is something we got to do, and it's so admirable. I know it's hard, but we got to protect those eyes and those ears. You know, if we're going to stop these type of cycles, you know, that we see continuing in families, because it's continuing from generation to generation. People are just violent, and it starts somewhere. So wow, how you want to fight a woman on stairs with children? You gotta be, that's crazy.
People, and you know what? They were actually dealing with their own mental illness because they actually finding out later on they actually had dealing with schizophrenia and paranoia on top of all that. So it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. It was a lot to get my kids to understand that, you know, this is what mommy had to do and we had to leave. And unfortunately, I know you love this apartment that we was here for 6 years, but we got to move somewhere else because it's not safe.
Yeah.
Because it was to the point to where they were coming through my windows. They were popping up everywhere I went. Like there was like no comfortability for me. I was afraid to go outside by myself because I have my kids and I don't want anything to happen to them. It's not even about me. It's about them seeing, hearing anything happening, how it would happen to them. And it's like, as a mom, that's not what I wanted. So I had to protect them at any means.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, yeah,
Kids
it
and
definitely
domestic
is.
abuse. You know, domestic abuse with children watching or being a part of it is it's so scary. All right, so we're gonna come back. Miss Lawanda, excuse me, Miss Lawanda. Oh,
We can't hear you.
we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
So let me unmute.
Okay, there we go. I'm sorry,
Okay,
I've
so
been having
Lawanda,
such
I want you to
problems
tell
with my
people where you're
phone.
from, you know, and how
I
did you.
am from Fairfield, California,
Okay.
and the person I do know on this panel very well is Rachel. We've been friends since master's degree in college. And when Rachel, every time she comes up with a writing project, she hollers at me, "Hey, you want to get in on this?" I always say yes because I've had so many different experiences that, you know, hey, always got something to write about. But this particular book threw me for a loop because when she said, "Okay, it's blinded love, it's about domestic violence." Well, I tell you, I have been doing with some domestic violence stuff since I was like a young girl. You know, I first seen it, you know, in my family and family picnics. I seen my stepfather towering over my mom when I was little, about 4 or 5. So that was engraved in my head. So I said, "Oh, I can do this." So I had my finger kind of pointed forward at the guys I was going to talk about, and I noticed with that one finger pointed forward, there was 3 fingers and a thumb back at me. And so what I realized about it all is that It was supposed to be the 2,000 words, and it ended up 80,000 words.
Wow.
And what I ended up learning is I had these series of relationships that I got involved in, and I heard someone say, well, what is it about me that'll keep attracting these kind of people? And so once I finished the book, I really realized that I kept placing the blame everywhere else. Of course, nobody had the right to put their hands on me and stuff, but I seen the roles that I played in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me an opportunity to like work on me. You know, I finally can be very forgiving, very accepting.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All
We're
kinds of
gonna come
stuff
back to
going
Miss
on.
Wanda. I think it's because she's moving around. She might be in a car. And so
Yeah.
sometimes moving around kind of moves the signal. So we'll come back to Mr. Wanda.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's fine. Shantae.
Hey gals, how y'all feeling?
We're fine. We want to hear, how did you contribute to the book, where you're from, all of that good stuff.
I'm Shantae Watson. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As everybody else, I was scrolling through, Facebook, and I seen that Miss Rachel had put it up, and I said, oh, like, let me be a part of this, because it's stories about myself that I've never revealed. Like, I just continue to just pick up my bags and just continue to keep it moving, and so, I reached out to Miss Rachel. And Ms. Rachel said, sure, be a part of it. And, we just got down to the nitty gritty. And then now we have this book, Blinded Love.
Okay.
For me, as Miss LaWanda said, and growing up in the inner city and growing up in Black and brown communities, you see that a lot. You see it a lot, with older couples. I've seen it, with my mom. Like, I think the first time that I seen domestic abuse was when my mother was abused and I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I remember when my mom's abuser, he was beating her so bad, one particular time. And, his parents, were part of the church, and they sat downstairs, and his mother held me down, so I couldn't run upstairs to save my mother,
His
and
mother? You said
the
his
abuser's
mother?
mother held me down, so I couldn't, go upstairs to save my mother. And what was crazy is that she turned around and she put on this song, I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain. You guys know that song,
Yeah.
And I despise that song because every time I hear it, it's a constant reminder of, my trauma, of what I experienced and what I seen with my mother. And so, fast forward, I started dealing with a man, and he was kind to me. Like, let's be clear, he was a good brother. He really was. And he just struggled with how to communicate and say what he needed from me. And one particular day, my part of the book is called Mr. Rage. And one particular day, and I've never seen this behavior from him. Like, that's why it took me for a loop, because I never experienced it from him, and we were out, me, him, and his sister, and we were out having a good time. And, his sister was trying to like talk to another guy. And you know how it is when you with your friends and your friend can't get her words out to the guy. So, because you got the most mouth, like, hey, come here, this, that, and therefore. And that's what I did. I don't think he liked what I was doing. And so, because I guess some way, somehow he must have thought that it was disrespectful to his humanity or his manhood, put it like that.
Okay.
And so when we were in the car, and all of a sudden he just came out of nowhere and was like, why would you disrespect me like that? And I said to him, I'm looking at him like, how? Like, what are you talking about? And he continued to keep going on and on and on and on. And next thing I know, he just back smacked me in my face, like, pow, and I'm like, whoa. But I turned around, I smacked him back because it was just one of them things, you're not gonna put your hands on me. You know what I mean? And I mean, then all of a sudden we tussling, he driving, we tussling, and it's just going on and on and on and on. And so when it got to a red light, I jumped out the truck and I ran to one of my best friend's house because we was in that community. And I ran to my best friend's house. I was banging on my best friend's door and she came to the door and she's never seen me disheveled like that. I'm screaming like, girl, open the door. Like, he gonna kill me. Like, he gonna kill me. And I come in And we handle it. He come to my friend's house, and we're just carrying on, and please don't leave me, the things that they do. And so once I said, if you don't leave, I'm gonna call the police, he eventually left. I end up calling, a heck, to get home to my house, so I could go get my daughter and things. And when I got in the heck, I didn't realize that he must have been sitting somewhere watching where I was going. And so he followed me and the head person down Broad Street. This is an avenue, a main area in Philadelphia. And he crossed in front of this car and forced the man to get out the car. The man was like, listen, I can't have you in my car because I don't want him to hurt me, and I can't deal with this. I screamed and hollered and I begged this man, like, please don't let me get out the car because I don't know what he's going to do to me. Man was like, you gotta get out my car. I'm sorry, baby. Like, but you just gotta go. He banging on this man's window, carrying on, just acting like a complete fool. So I get out the car. He took all of my clothes, all of my daughter clothes, all of our stuff, and is laying out in the middle of Broad Street. I'm standing on the sidewalk, I couldn't believe what was happening to me because, I've been through some things, but this right here was just like to a whole nother level. So, finally he was like, you got to get in this car, and, you're not leaving. So I get in the car and I sit in the car and I'm like, can you please take me home? He cussing and fussing, and he went to reach over into the glove compartment. When he went into the glove compartment, next thing you know, he took a pistol and put it to my head. And the minute he put the pistol to my head, my mother called me on my cell phone. And so, because my best girlfriend called my mother on the phone, screaming and hollering, saying that she didn't think that I was going to make it. So when I answered the phone, my mother was on the phone screaming and hollering to the top of her lungs, like saying, like, Shantae, like, I need you for you to come home. And when I tell you guys that I seen like a flash of light, like my spirit went out and came back in. And I will never forget that moment, because I thought, like, I'm not going to make it home. But God, however way, benevolent ancestors, however way that you surround me and keep me protected, please keep me safe so I can get home to my baby. My mother on the phone screaming and hollering to the top of her lungs. My girlfriend, my homegirl, she's sitting there screaming like, please, Shantae, please go home. Like, please go home. But I just kept saying to them, like, just be calm. Like, I'm gonna make it home. Like, I can't move. I can't go anywhere. Just listen to me. I'm gonna get home. He's sitting there with the pistol. Hang up the phone, hang up the phone, hang up the phone. If you don't hang up, I'm gonna blow your brains out. And, for me, I sat here and I said to myself, like, all right, Shantae, go into crisis mode the best way that you can, so you could talk your way out of this situation. And I did the best that I could, where I talked him out of it to where he finally put the gun down, but he wouldn't take me home. I had to go back to his house. My mother kept calling. He was like, you better tell your mother to stop calling, and I didn't answer my phone because I didn't want my mom to worry any more than what she already did. Finally, I had to go back to his home. He took all the phone cords out the wall so I couldn't call anybody. And I just was sitting there like, how I'm not how the fuck did I get here again?
Real talk. That's real talk. Yeah.
Like how? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just left an emotional, a mental and emotional relationship with my child's father, and here I am now in a physical abusive relationship. Like, how did I get here? I was in my early 20s, I was in my mid 20s, when all of this was going on. And I sat here, he eventually passed out because he was doing some drinking. And when I sat here and I looked at this man, because he was such a beautiful man, he was kind. Everybody knew that he was kind. But it was just like, how can a man who he loves me do me like this and like pull a gun and was really about to take me up out of here, knowing he has a child, a daughter, and I have a daughter, and he took really good care of my child. Like, what made you do this? You know what I mean? And fast forward when the morning came, he didn't even remember. He said that he didn't remember what happened. But I think the last and final time, because it happened You know, he physically fought me 4 times. Although I fought back, but it still doesn't take away the fact that I was being abused. Because for me, I always felt like, because I'm a tough woman, and anybody who knows me know I'm a tough woman, and I will fight back. But the thing is that it was so ingrained in my head to believe that this is just what people go through, because I've seen it all my life, you know, with family members, people in your community and things like that. So you just think that it's a normal thing, and it's really not normal. And so the last and final time he and I had a situation was one particular day. Again, he was drinking, couldn't articulate what he needed from me, and he jumped on me and started choking me. And I had like a razor blade that was stuck in between my mattress, and things. And I took the razor blade and I cut him up like 4 days. And he ran out my house. My daughter seen that. And my daughter was about maybe 4. About 3 or 4, and she was screaming to the top of her lungs, like begging me to stop, you know, doing it. But I had to do what I had to do, because it was either me or him. And he and I stopped dealing with each other for a very long time, and then we eventually end up getting back together for a short amount of time, and then we broke up again. But I say all that to say, you know, I didn't even realize that I was a victim. I didn't realize that I was a victim until one day, like 5 years ago, when I was sitting in therapy. And I was talking to my therapist, and I was explaining the situation to her. And she said, Shantae, sit in that for a second. And I said to her, well, like, what am I supposed to be sitting in? She said, Shantae, just breathe and relax. Sit in that. Now, do you realize that you were a victim? And so I said to her, I said, you know, and I said to my therapist, Miss such and such, I'm not a victim. She said, no, you are. I understand where you feel like that you may have fought back, but you were still a victim of domestic violence. And you have to allow that to sit in your spirit so you can be able to process what happened to you. Because if you don't, you're going to continue to keep holding the anger. You're going to continue to keep holding the bitterness, and you're not going to be able to have a successful relationship with anyone if you do not allow yourself to process what happened to you. You have to stop allowing yourself to, every time trauma occurs in your life, you shut yourself completely off and just think that this is just a normal activity, and this is not a normal activity. And you have to learn how to understand that we, as Black and brown women and men, you know, in the community, it's like we just process trauma like as it just is, and that this is the way it's supposed to be. And anything outside of the norm of where our eyeballs see or what we can experience, we think is just the right thing to do, and it's really not the right thing to do. Shantae, you really, really have to sit and process. And I had to do homework on it for like 3 weeks. She gave me homework, you know, to sit and write it out, process it, understand it, pray on it, you know, and continue to keep allowing myself to show up and like talk about it. You know, I just recently just started talking about it maybe like 5 years ago. So when I wrote my particular chapter in the book, I did it with ease, with no pain, no sorrow, no sadness, no tears, because I healed from it, you know. And it took a lot of prayer, it took a lot of therapy, you know, and everything to like really get through to the core of, you know, my experience and why I accepted it, you know, because you know how the old queens tell us, get you a man that can provide for you, you know. And most of the queens, you know, the older queens are still with men, you know, who know how to provide, but they ain't shit. You understand what I'm saying? And so they put that same language onto you. Yeah. And so I had to learn, like, this is not it. And I had to sit here and, you know, break every chain so I won't have to experience that anymore, because I don't want my daughter to be able to experience that. Because y'all gonna see me, orange is the new black, and I don't look good in an orange jumpsuit. You know what I mean? So
well, you know what, Shantae? I heard that part about the razor blade between the mattress. You know, looking like you're not playing. Don't you won't get cut up in here.
But behaving like that, having that under my mattress, that was a trauma response of throughout, you know, of my experiences, you know, throughout life, because I thought that that's just the way it's supposed to be. I mean, a lot of, you know, I know what I'm saying right now is not abnormal. Most of us have experience, we just don't talk about it or have a conversation about it. But I felt like if I had this here, this is the thing that make me feel safe. You know, even if nothing was happening, I just felt like, okay, this is going to make me safe. And it really wasn't even really making me safe. It was really a trauma response, you know, to, you know,
well, that's what I was going to segue into. We create these trauma responses that, and it makes us violent to a point trying to protect ourselves. And people get caught up in that, and then they shoot the person, or just a response to the abuse. So that's why it can become so diabolical if you don't watch it, because then it makes you this abuser trying to protect yourself from being abused. It's just the response to it. So that's why I was saying that, like I get it, but it now makes you cutting up somebody, and there can be some alternatives to that. So it's unfortunate that abuse begets abuse. That's the unfortunate thing about it. So we're gonna come back. LaWanda, we're gonna try you again. Oh, she's still muting me. I'm mute her. So LaWanda,
can't hear you.
We can't hear you, LaWanda. So I think if you don't move around and you might can get the signal, but we can't hear you. Unmuted, but I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Still can't hear you. So we're gonna come back, LaWanda. Unmuted. It's saying your mic isn't connected.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you now.
I have no idea what's going on right now.
Okay, now I can hear you. Okay, so we know you're from California, and you were talking about your chapter in the book. Now she freezed again.
Yeah,
we're gonna come back. Try to get you in. We're gonna come back. All right.
I don't even think that I said I was from California. I am so sorry. I just went right on in.
Well,
I'm from California
that's fine.
as well. I'm from the Bay Area, and then but I moved to Sacramento County. Everybody started seeing where they're from, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I even told them. They don't even know where I'm at.
But I like this. You're on the left coast. You're in LaWanda, and then we have New York, and then we got two Bmore. Two folks who are from Bmore. I'm usually from Bmore too. I'm down south right now, but I'm usually in Baltimore, so we got a great mix. So, but it shows that this domestic abuse shows up everywhere. It's not regional. It's not on the coast. It's not, and really, it's not in certain communities. All communities this behavior is being displayed. Humans are displaying this type of behavior. Unfortunately, in the Black community, I think it persists because we're so traumatized by our experience in America. And so that experience and plus not having in our families, the response to that experience sometimes makes you abusive. And then it just carries on and then now you become an abuser. And so unfortunately, I think Black people, when we look at our neighborhoods, a lot of stuff goes down from trauma. Real talk. I mean, you can look at, if you live in a Black neighborhood and it doesn't have a lot of services and lack of resources, there's some stuff going down. It's like outside is the television.
You ain't lying, because what's the scary part is because a lot of brothers, sit and watch other men beat up their children's mother, and their wives and things like that, and they know it's wrong, but they don't even step in to stop it. And or it's always the attitude, oh, they're gonna go right back, so I don't care. But then soon as Tamika, Tanya, or whoever is killed by the abuser, then everybody want to sit here and cry and say, oh God, we should have saved them, we should have did this, and we should have did that. And it's just like, how does this stuff end? Because this stuff is generational trauma. Like it really, really is. We've seen a lot of our daddies and our uncles and our granddaddies and, cousins and whoever, be abusive to our mamas and our, and our family members, or you go outside and you see Miss such and such across the street being dragged out the house, or, however way that looks. Or if it's not that, you have the other thing with growing up in the inner city where it's tons and tons and piles of dudes standing on a corner. And when you walk by and a man trying to talk to you, and when you don't want to respond to him, he's smacking you in your face and punching you in your face in front of people. And this is the experience that Black women have to experience growing up in the inner city.
He's preaching, and it's so true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this stuff don't add up to me.
It doesn't add up, and that's why I think a lot of this the things, our experiences have kind of given us not even a passport, but we're violent from our experiences just here, and then our not having in our families, and it's just, you see it manifest into this behavior that is so abusive, and we got to deal with it though, because it's continuing, and America ain't getting nicer. So and trust me, this experience we living in ain't getting nicer. So we have to find a way to try to define what are the triggers and why. Why are we displaying anger this way? Why do men want to hit women? Why are women hitting men? Because we didn't even talk about that.
Right.
That's happening too.
I've been on that other side too, so I'm not even gonna sit up here. You know,
Yeah,
when you can't, you so angry, him cheating or whatever, you just going off.
Exactly. You know, I've seen women hit men, and we and children. We're hitting children and killing children, and we got to look at this type of behavior. LaWanda, you up?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Praise God. I mean, the devil just don't want me to tell this story, but you know.
Tell a story, LaWanda.
I want to tell this story. I want to. You know, I was my son's father, and we were both on crack. And you know, I used to like go out and get the drugs. You know, and sometimes it'll be short. You know, and so I might not be able to share as much with him because it's about taking care of my own habit. But it's this one time that I wasn't expecting him to approach me. He approached me, pinned me on the bed, arms down, and commenced to just like punching me in my face. I have these permanent black eyes that when I look in the mirror, I can always see them. And sometimes they darker than others, you know, and sometimes people will ask me about them. I mean, this one church guy, he asked me about him, and I was like, you know, and it's been many years since that. And, you know, I was like scrambling for embarrassment, what to say that wouldn't sound as horrible as the truth. And so what I said to him, you know, when you get punched in your eyes, it has side effects, you know? And so even though I heard what the colleague there was saying about being a rough and tough person. I was a rough and tough person. You know, I brought it to the table, but I was a woman, you know, and unfortunately, women aren't just as strong as men sometimes. And then we have such this emotional attachment to them that we continue to allow this abuse to keep on happening to us until we're so broke down that we have to leave the situation. And I kept finding myself in this position over and over again. And I was just searching for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
And having babies.
Yes.
Every baby had a different daddy. And that's not because I was so promiscuous. That was because I kept searching for love in all the wrong places. But I had no idea what love meant.
Wow.
I had never seen no real healthy relationships or marriages. I had such low self-esteem of myself from being molested as a little girl that, you know, it started, you know, my mind thought, well, hell, if a man gonna touch you, he ought to be giving you something.
Wow.
You know, so just this year, and I just tell you, this year, I have been so healed. Hallelujah. I thank God that Rachel asked me to write this book and pushed me to go ahead and publish my own book, My Love Was Blind, because I wrote all of that stuff out. And then I was like able to really like see me, see the roles, see it, forgive people, not hold on to those grudges no more, because they are barriers to keep me from moving forward. And then God gave me the icing on the cake this weekend. The only man I ever dated that was not an abuser to me, but helped me begin to trust men. We were married many years, but he left the marriage. But I wanted to be able to write something from his perspective, but I wanted it to be his words. Now, I didn't know that my son had got a deathbed confession from him. And so I just saw this deathbed confession on this weekend. It was difficult to see him there and listen, but I listened, and it was the final chapter to giving me peace. And you know, sometimes we have all these tragic relationships that we done gone through. We be looking for somebody else to make us whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that should not be what a relationship is.
Mhm.
We have to be whole ourselves. And so now I really feel like, okay, all these years I've been wanting to be in a relationship. You know, I've been wanting a partner. I've been praying for it. But now I understand why it hasn't happened is because I was not healed in certain areas.
Mm.
I had so much emotional baggage that I was carrying. And now I feel like I'm able to let that emotional baggage go and be in a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship.
That's a
And
blessing.
so writing these books, I write these books, and most of the stories that I write, it be prevalent stuff happening right now in my life, and I share them with the community because as a tool for people to know you can make a difference in your life. You can make a change in your life. You can look in the mirror and not like that person that you see, and you can make some changes. And to seek help, like she said, she was in there with that therapist. You know, they teach you not to go to therapy. Back in my day, they didn't tell you about getting no therapy. They didn't tell you about getting no help.
Yep.
And I didn't get that help. And even as a kid, with the tragic things that happened to me with my uncle, I didn't tell nobody, because the people that I moved from my family in St. Louis and moved to a great aunt, this was her people. How was I gonna tell her that the people she loved and cared for were abusing me?
Yeah.
And so I'm really just kind of glad to just like be here, to just like open up myself and let go of all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that my last day is gonna be my best days, sisters.
I love it. That is your story is
Yes.
inspiring. And a lot of the problems that happen in our whole life starts with incest. It starts with being touched,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
girls. It is
Yeah.
a problem that we don't want to discuss in in this community, but it is big. That young girl and young boys. I'm not going to say girls,
Right.
boys are being violated also. But that is almost that is like every woman's story. The uncle or somebody in the house has touched them. And so when they go out in the world to be with men, they are already in a space where they can accept abuse because they've been abused as a child. And this cycle is it comes. I hear it so much of women who've been touched by family members. It's just really awful.
Well, the crazy part about it is that you don't get supported by your family. In those days, they just swept stuff under the rug. I mean, it happened to my mom, right by her auntie's husband. That's how she got pregnant with me. I've seen her voice stolen over the years. People just act like it don't happen. And my very first book, it took me 5 years to write it, but I was told 20 years prior to it that I was going to write that book called Alice in Crackland. I had no idea that I was going to be carrying the stories of these women in my family that have been molested by the men in my family. And I'm telling you,
come on, Miss Lawanda.
Peace.
Come on. Wow.
Such peace happened. I seen the women's lives change. I seen me change. And even though I got a lot of flack in my family, you know what? I don't care. Because
come on, Miss Lawanda.
I got delivered.
That's
and
true.
you know, that's what people need. You know, families, those family secrets, don't tell family business. Bull crap. Shout it all to somebody here. Get the help that you need.
That's right. Tell it. That's the truth. I agree with that. We cannot hold things that really is going to blow us up. You can't even hold. It's like covering a volcano. At some point, it's going to blow, and that's why we have to tell these things. And a lot of people don't want to look bad, but then you ruin people's lives, not wanting to look bad, not wanting to show it, not wanting to show other people. It's just really a hard conversation. But I want to get to the point, ladies. What do you guys think are solutions? You know, what I hear therapy and writing, I'm sure, is cathartic. Being able to write it out and
Yes.
see your story and then your role in it. What are some of the solutions that we can deal with this domestic abuse, especially in the Black community and with Black women?
I think it
Well,
needs to
one
be
of the
more
things
healing
I would
circles
say
for
is
men.
the checklist. You know, we get involved in relationships too soon. We need to see a person in every, see how they act.
Oh, LaWanda, you
Uh-oh.
was coming. You was
So
coming. All right, Sheena, what you think? What's some solutions? What is some solutions for us as Black women?
Well, some of the solutions I can say is, as I advocate, I start as advocating with the kids when they're younger, because a lot of times they see it. In both of my partners that actually abused me saw their parents getting abused. So if you can get to the younger version before they get older, you can kind of give them the signs and the information of what's not supposed to happen in a relationship and what real love is truly is. Because like she said, a lot of times we look for love in all the wrong places because we felt that something is missing. Like mine with my daddy issues.
Yes.
My father wasn't around. I seen him, but he wasn't there. So I was looking for love in all the wrong places, and I didn't truly know what love was by a man.
Wow.
Right.
My mama loved me, but I didn't know what true love was by a man. So I was accepting certain things. So if you talk to these young girls that are missing a father or missing things in their life, you can teach them how to truly love themselves beforehand.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then with the other people, you know, as with the older generation, a lot of them are kind of stuck in their ways. But what I did was I made a documentary which educated people on, it's not just trauma for me, it's trauma for my kids, it's trauma for the rest of the family, it's trauma for everybody else.
Sure.
In the circumstances on both sides, because now you're making more of a habit and toxicness because you might have two families fighting together. So in my documentary, I allowed men, women, and my own child explain how she felt seeing me go through domestic violence. So just making my effort of educating and being able to go talk to children about it, or being able to just find different ways to interact people to understand that it's not okay and be a voice.
I love it. I love it. Ms. Takiyah, what do you think? We're gonna get to you, Ms. Rachel. Ms. Takiyah.
Make more safe spaces. So one of the things that I know helped in me being able to talk about it, yes, I went to therapy. Yes, I continued to pray. Yes, I rebuilt my relationship with God. But just having those safe spaces of other people, other women who went through it and said, hey, it's okay for you to talk about it. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to sit with the fact that you're not okay. And then you can work from there on doing it. And so especially, you know, in regards to, you know, being in church and you're there and everybody thinks everything's happy and smiley, have the safe spaces. Like if a woman comes in and saying, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, the first thing is not to slap oil on it. This is not an oil situation. It might be eventually, but in the moment, what's really happening.
I hate to get.
I like that, Takiyah. This is not an old moment. That's the
effort. Not like, you know, we can pray in tongues about it later, but right now we're gonna deal with what's in front of us. And you know, when prayer takes place, it takes place, and that's fine. And I'm not anti none of that, because I'll pray for you in a heartbeat. But my prayer is not going to be praying for you to work out whatever that situation is. We're going to pray God's will over that situation. And if his will is that you leave, then I'm going to be there with you to help you figure out how to make that happen. If his will is that you stay, then we're going to figure out how you can stay well. But women need the space to understand that, okay, yes, God hates divorce. He hates abuse too. So which one you betting on is going to be a bigger issue?
You better say it. I love that.
I'm not going with divorce. No, I don't want one. No, I don't necessarily. That's not what I got married for. But at the end result, it's going to be what it's going to be. It's my safety, my well-being. I can't fulfill my purpose walking in Lord if I got to worry about what he's doing over here and on the back end and in my ear and trying to block and everything else. And so when those safe spaces are available, people will talk. They just want to find the spaces. And but the more platforms such as this that people can see faces and say, "Oh, that's the person I can find. I'm gonna go get this book and find one of these women in this book and reach out to them." And they know that that's a safe space because they know that it's somebody that's not going to tell them the Band-Aid answer. And you got a bullet wound. Like, we're not doing Band-Aids over bullet holes no more. We coming for the
say
whole
it again,
thing.
Takiyah.
We're not doing Band-Aids over bullet holes. We coming for the whole thing. We gonna work some stuff out and fix some things up. And it might take some. It's going to take some Jesus. It's going to take some therapy. It's going to take some crying. It's going to take some laughing. It's going to take the whole thing. But it's okay that it takes the whole thing. And when we make those spaces for others, it'll help us grow too. I didn't start growing until I started talking. And because I started talking,
that's it.
Because I started talking, it also helped my teenage I had teenage girls. They weren't mine. They were his family. But they were looking at me trying to figure out life because their other role models were all people that they knew they didn't want to pattern behind. So they looked at me. I'm well educated. I speak well. I teach. I got a job. I got this. I got that. I got the third. And then I'm dealing with this in front of me. And so they're looking like, how do you do that? How does that happen? And I had to sit them both down and I said, if you don't remember nothing else about anything that happened in your life, remember that I left. And I didn't leave y'all. I left that mess. I'm still here for you. That has nothing to do with you.
I love
those are the things that I need you not to do in life. There are other things you can do, like me. Go get degrees, do well for yourself, be independent. But don't follow the steps that I follow to get into this relationship. We're going to have talks about that. And if I see you in one, trust and believe, I'm going to come for you. And we're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation about how what you're not going to do is end up with another one of these. Because these cycles break today. Like, yes, that's my last name. And they're not my blood children, but I'm the breaker. And because I'm the breaker, I'm breaking over the two I birthed and the two that I didn't. So it breaks over all of us today.
I love that. I love that, Takiyah. All right, Miss Rachel, come bring the power.
Oh man, okay. How am I gonna go behind that?
I don't know. Awesome. They coming tonight.
But just to piggyback on there, I'm all with Takiyah on talking to your kids, because all four of my kids witnessed the abuse. And a lot of times what happens is we so busy trying to be with our boo, we sacrifice our kids for our happiness. And we can't do that. We have to really look and be honest with ourselves how this is affecting our kids. So, once I was able to get out of that relationship, I started talking to my kids, and I was completely real and honest with them what was going on, because my kids were bigger. Like my oldest, she's 26 now. So she was like, and so we talk. This is not what you're supposed to be in. If some love shouldn't cause black eyes. True love do not bruise and cause broken bones. It don't happen. So, follow me, but don't follow what I did with that relationship, because that is not love. Teaching, and I have one son. I have 3 girls and 1 son. I talk to my son. We have to talk to our young men. See, we are raising men.
That's true.
And one thing I did not want him to do, I did not want him to grow up and put his hands on a woman. So I had to really, and let me tell you, it just because you are a single mother, because I've been a single mother, a single Christian mother. And I talk to my son, her son, before you get mad, and my son can get mad, and I've seen him. Before you get mad and you get ready to raise your fist up, walk away. walk out the door. Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to end up in jail, okay? You don't want to end up, hey, walk away. So it's about teaching. It starts in the home. Come on, y'all. Y'all know it starts in the home. Where did we see it at? I see my mom get busted in the nose when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm grown standing in the mirror holding my nose.
Yeah.
Come on. It's a domino effect. It's generational curses.
Just that one. The top.
But here's the thing,
Thank you.
it could stop with us. I said, you know what? It's gonna stop with me. I'm not gonna watch my kids go down that road because I can't see it. I don't want to see my kids go down that road. I don't want to see my son in jail because he got to lay hands on his woman. I don't want my daughters to come to me with their eyes swollen. Okay, all right, that's way more than I could take. I didn't even want to see me like that, but to see my babies have to grow up and deal with that, no. So it's about really talking and teaching them how to love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this book called I Am Diamond because, see, you have to know you a gem. Fine jewelry. And that's how you have to treat yourself. So when you get in a relationship and you're not treated like that, it's time to go. It's time to go.
I love that. Teach them to be better people.
You
Young
gotta
people.
teach them.
You gotta teach them.
Our sons.
Love that. Safe
they
space.
Standing on that street corner because somebody mama ain't do. Come on, let's just be honest.
That's true.
I told my son, hey, I wish you would. Where you going? What? And he's 17, almost 18. And he got it. So we do think that we have to stay in a relationship. We do. We women, so we hold the family together, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't say big dad, granddaddy. They say big mama held the family together, right?
Right.
So that's our nature. We hold it together. But you know what? Not at the expense of your life.
No, we can't hold it together and hide stuff that's detriment to growth.
We can't.
We can't. We just can't do
We
that.
can't.
I love hearing this. All right, Miss Shantae, give us your solution.
I think it needs to be more vulnerable healing circles for men. And I say that to say, in my time and doing my internships, I can't really say too much of what I do to HIPAA, but, having conversations with men, a lot of them don't know how to communicate effectively. And I've watched men who are 40, 50, 60, and 70 years old sit and say to me, they were never taught how to actually handle a woman and how to actually, groom, not even groom her, but be her partner, be side by side, not this ideology of the man has to be the head. Like, what is really the head? You know what I mean? Like, what is actually really the head? Because if you're not, groomed to sit here and protect and this thing of protecting and providing, yeah, we understand that you got to protect, keep the family protected and provide financially, but protecting and providing is providing a safe space for me to breathe. Protecting me is being able to talk to me gently without busting me in my face because you don't like what I said. It needs to be real. It needs to be healthy circles. The same way women have their circles, and they're healing their wounds and, going over here, going out the country and doing the things they need to do and doing the ancestral healing. It needs to happen for men as well, because that thing that we've carried through slavery, and then it's carrying on still into 2022. And so many men walk around in their ego versus, walking around and, doing things with love. This is the reasons why we are such at a disconnect right now as Black men and Black women and the children and the elders, because nobody wants to have a real conversation about what's really happening in our homes, in our relationships with our children, and think nobody wants to have that real conversation, because that's when the shame, and that's when, all those different types of emotions are going to start popping up, and you got to be able to throw it down. That's how you submit to God. When you throw that stuff down and say, I'm willing to talk, I'm ready to show up and say whatever it is that needs to be said, that's when the healing work starts to come. That's when you say, come, Holy Spirit, come, because you need it. You need it. And we need to have better conversations with men on one side, women on one side, and everybody not getting in their emotions and just sitting here hearing, because Black women are suffering. Our, like, who we are here in America, like, we are damn near extinct, due to the abuse that we constantly perpetuate on one another. And we really are having a hard time of really getting down to the glue and the nitty gritty of what is killing us, and there's so many different things that's going on. And I understand that it's a lot of stuff that's going on out here about what those enemies look like, because we understand, because it's a whole bunch of them, but the enemy is looking right at us, and we need to start facing the mirror about what we're doing to each other, because we're killing each other. And we're raising a bunch of young men. Like my daughter, like, she struggles in dating. They don't even, it's Netflix and chill. They don't even ask to go out on dates. The only thing they want to do is smoke weed and lay up, and that's pretty much it. They don't even know nothing about their body parts. They don't even know how to cleanse themselves. They, what I'm saying? Like, it's a struggle out here, with what we've given this new generation. In some way, somehow, we got to be able to come together and get out of that ideology of religious things, and really come together as humanity and say, how can we heal our community? What does that look like? What is those things, or what it look like? Because everybody might have different ideas of what it needs to be, but collectively we are struggling. So we really do need to have real honest conversations, because I'm gonna tell y'all something. I don't want to die in order to know what peace feel like. I don't want my child to die in order to know what peace feels like. I don't want to see my community. And for me, I don't consider community where I live. Everywhere I step my feet is community to me. And so I feel like how do we do the work collectively to start healing, these young Black men and these young Black girls? Because I think that some of us is no hope for some of us, and we got to leave it there. But for those of us who are willing to go into those spaces and go into that rabbit hole, to start sitting up here putting light into that, how do we do that collectively? That's the question. How do we do it collectively?
That's a great one. I heard safe space. I heard I heard teaching. I heard healing circles, because this is a healing circle. I feel like we're really putting stuff out, we're putting out dialogue that's helping others. This is a lot of inspiration going on, because solutions are important, and healing circles for men. And to hear that men do not know how to treat women, they do not know how to love women. That's big. You always say, I got women, we teach our girls to get a man and take care of men, but are we teaching our boys to take care of women? And are we really doing that?
That's what I'm saying. They love our vaginas. They don't love some of them love our vaginas, but they don't know how to love the actual woman.
Yes, absolutely. And we live in a very sexual society now. Technology has made it more sexual for our young people. And so when I hear your daughter, all they know is Netflix and chill, that's the truth. Get high and chill. That's it. And it's really unfortunate. And then we got COVID and everybody's staying in. So it's a whole nother game out here. So it's really good to hear actual solutions for this domestic abuse that's going on in our community. So we're like a hour and almost 20 minutes in. This is amazing, ladies. I mean, to hear what you guys have been through in your lives, and to share it. Transparency is what we need also. And once you share it and you're transparent about it, someone else can grow from it. And then also set up spaces where you want to heal others. I hear Takiyah talking about those two young ladies, and then now her daughters, but listen, she's in their lives, and she's really being, a parent, because some parents are in your life and they're not parenting.
Yeah.
So we have to do that. And then I hear Sheena is talking about her daughters in the documentary. That's powerful when you can go back and look at yourself and hear your voice. That is so powerful to talk about that. And then this book across the board, I can't wait to really get into it and read it. And because I do have a copy, y'all. So I'm not giving y'all no money because I got a copy. So I'm so happy for my copy, and I'm gonna really read it because it's really cathartic to hear other people's story because we've all have been abused in some way. I remember in my own family, I had an aunt, uncle, whatever we had a cookout, a wedding or a funeral, they was gonna tear it up. We was waiting for. Real talk.
It's not funny, but I understand.
I'm not laughing, but for real, we was waiting like when they gonna come, when they gonna start fighting because it's gonna happen. And that's so unfortunate. Now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, we really was looking forward to the fight. It had gotten such a norm in our family that they were going to fight regardless. And so that is something that we're internalizing, is manifesting to them. We see our children now, and the amount of violence that's going on in our community. We need solutions. We need solutions. So I want you guys to, I'm gonna go over. I want you guys to all leave a jewel of an inspiration to the audience. Leave something that they can grow from your jewel. So we're gonna start with Sheena's jewel.
My jewel is for them to don't be afraid to leave and forgive yourself first for anything that happened in your life and don't carry it into your new beginnings.
That's real. That's real. All right, Miss Shantae.
It's okay to uproot yourself from trauma, whether it's in your family or not. Take yourself up out that pot and go and replant yourself and rewater yourself again, so your future generations and your future descendants can have a healthier lifestyle versus staying in the same pot and rotting.
Ooh, powerful. Sister Takiyah.
My jewel would be that, if this is your storm, one, there's a way out of it because storms don't always last. And two, on your way out, find somebody to help you travel. Your umbrella is broken. Mine is not. So find a sister that does not have a broken umbrella to walk with you to come out of it. But you can come out, and God will not hate you if you decide that you need to come out. He will be there to love you. His arms are open wide, and he's waiting on you.
Amazing. Amazing. Sister Rachel, we gave you the last word tonight.
Yes. Love yourself. You are worth to be treated with dignity and respect. So love yourself and teach others how to love you. Because if people don't see you loving yourself, they're going to treat you how you treat yourself. So love yourself. You're worth it. You're worth it.
That is beautiful. Listen, ladies, it is always a blessing to be in space with Black women. It is just, and when we're not coming after each other and we're supporting each other and we're building bridges for our own community, it is just a beautiful space. Yes. I feel so inspired to be in space with you guys tonight. I appreciate it. Blind to Love is a bestseller. From y'all, it's gotta be a bestseller. You guys are amazing. So I hope we can keep in touch. And maybe, it sounds like you guys are putting up books like albums out here. So I'm like, y'all everybody got a book. What's going on? Everybody right here got books. I'm like, y'all are putting out something, which is, listen, readers are leaders, and we need to read. It's very important. So
we the new ancestors.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And so I just really appreciate this. From the bottom of my heart, it's just a blessing to hear these stories, but also see you on the other side. You guys are building blocks for a better life for yourselves and your family. And that's just a blessing. I want to say thank you for coming on Black Box Radio and sharing your story and being transparent and really, really inspiring me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Queen. We appreciate you. And I thank you, Miss Rachel, as well, for allowing me to be able to, release and get my story out. This is not even really about the sales for me. This was more so just to free myself and to free my daughter and my nieces and my future descendants. So thank you.
Yes, you are so welcome. And I commend each and every one of you, my sisters. You guys are so powerful. And I was just grateful to just be the organizer of this, but it's your story. So it's our project, our stories. We did this elbow to elbow, locking arms. We did this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful ladies. Listen, we always got to do it. That was beautiful, but we about to get them deuces because we boxed up and out. Can I get some juices I gotta get some juices for my sisters. Can we get some juices? There we
Queen,
go. Ow! That's what
you
I'm
know I
talking
see you, Queen.
about. Take care, ladies.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Blessings.
All right.